All right, guys. Welcome to patch 817 Valkrin 2.0 patch review with Tyler 2, aka not Tyler 1, because last time we put that in the title, people freaked out and they were like, we got debated because we said Valkrin and Tyler, and apparently there's only one Tyler in the world. But we're going to be talking about NuNuNu. We're going to be talking about all these weird buffs and nerfs happening, and let's get started. NuNuNu, guys. So we'll probably have a separate. No, we already have a separate NuNuNu video. It already exists. So if you want to hear our specific thoughts on NuNuNu, you'll be able to click that link on the screen probably, and it'll take you right to that video, and you'll be prompted by us in the past. You'll hear our thoughts on our first impressions of NuNuNu, and of course, the day of the patch, tomorrow, check out my stream because I'm going to be playing NuNuNu, and it's going to be great. And we're gonna have lots of fun. I'll try it in jungle, mid, support. You know, we'll try it all. Any thoughts on NuNuNu, Tyler, or should we leave it to the other video?
It was pretty good. I'd watched the other video. We did a send off on stream, one last game of NuNu support, and it was terrible. So I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
All right. So the AD items have been, or the burst items have been nerfed. So they a slight nerf to Stormrazer and Duskblade, and they actually, I think this is one of the reasons why later they buffed Rengar in the same patch. But one of my big concerns for this, Tyler, is that most champions weren't rushing Duskblade anyways. So when you're looking at Duskblade on the right side of the screen, you're seeing that the base damage is like kind of nerfed for the mid game and the late game, but the lethality is buffed. So mathematically, I'm not sure how much of a damage difference this is going to end up being during the mid game, but you know, you're typically not like last iteming Duskblade. It was still just like in the mid game doing just like 100 damage or something like that on top of your full burst rotation. But they did nerf Electrocute. So on top of Electrocute being nerfed, they nerfed Duskblade. This seems like Electrocute junglers are kind of like at a crossroads of either giving up Electrocute, going something something else like Dark Harvest, or just, I mean, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen anyone go Electrocute in a while. What do you think?
Yeah, I think these champions are much worse out of the jungle, unless you're going Dark Harvest, which is we probably could make an entire video on that, and maybe we will in the future because you've been playing a lot of Dark Harvest characters. Um, the Duskblade nerf, I actually did a little bit of the math on it, and it's not that much worse as long as you do more damage than just Duskblade proc. So like if you do your whole combo, the lethality will make up for the damage in the early game. Late game, it's still just worse. And Stormrazer, not much to say. Better for attack speed champions because it has a slight bit more attack speed, which is worth a little bit more than the 5 AD, I'm pretty sure. But that crit strike in the early game going down is going to be pretty noticeable, I think.
Yeah, it's 20%. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, I think Stormrazer was really busted, so I'm sure it'll be like, you know, people are still going to take it, but
yeah, how much worse is Quinn really? She's going to be worse on her like first item. How much worse is Draven really? Worse on the first item? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know that it's going to do that much to fix the item, but at least it's a step in the right direction.
and of course the champions that combo these, like the late game Rengars and stuff, like it's just a little bit weaker. Like they seem to be really obsessed with just nerfing burst overall, but they aren't hitting certain champions like, you know, like burst Hecarim with Dark Harvest and stuff like that. That's not affected by this. So it seems like a very particular class of champions. They're just trying to slowly chip away at the Electrocute junglers, the Duskblade junglers. But it's still probably going to be playable. I mean, most of the time you're overkilling people. I think Stormrazer, like this nerf is actually going to like really suck for champions like Draven. I'm not sure how that's going to play out that much, but it actually kind of really sucks for a lot of the top tier ADCs on this current patch. But I mean, overall, like you might just see more adaptations.
Well, I mean, when Stormrazor is the first item on Kai'Sa, like I think that's where I draw the line.
Well,
I think that's when it needs nerf.
Stormrazer was completely broken. I just don't know where it lies. It's probably going to be like an average, if not slightly above average item to rush still. It's still probably the best item to rush, but like,
Yeah.
you know, how much worse is it realistically? It's a bit worse because the attack speed's usually at the highest level of play. Like it's a lot worse, but a lot worse when it's overpowered. It's still probably good.
And this is not going to be on any competitive patch until at least Worlds, probably. Maybe the Gauntlet will be on this patch, so we won't even get to see this for a little bit. But all right, and then because these items got nerfed, especially Duskblade, there were some buffs that got added.
Duskblade compensation.
Yeah. And the one that sticks out to me, I mean, we could talk about this. They're trying to make Wukong be able to jungle. They're trying to make Rengar have like more ults in the early game. Who cares? The Kayn one blows my mind. It's like the one thing that Kayn, like blue form Kayn did well is he could like get onto you really quickly, run through the wall really quickly, and then just kill you.
Well, this isn't this. I mean,
so why are they buffing his speed again? Like
this isn't just blue Kayn either. This is red Kayn.
Oh yeah,
is getting buffed by this too. I mean,
exactly,
there is a component to Shadow Assassin Kayn getting directly buffed, but like Red Kayn's just better. Like you don't go Duskblade on Red Kayn, so it's just like I don't know. This is a pretty massive buff actually. In the early game, like for Kayn chasing down people and stuff, like 7 seconds rather than 5. That's huge. That's actually enormous, Tyler.
Yep, it is,
And like there's less electrocute junglers, so Kayn's like better in the early game because he's not getting just poop stomped by like a Lee Sin running around with electrocute, just like high bursting you.
Yeah, maybe
Kayn looks really good next patch actually.
So here's something to mention is like what people seem to not understand is like when early game burst damage gets worse, it doesn't make like tanks better. It makes like tank killers, and it makes like people with bad early games that needed to scale to late game to do a ton of damage anyway.
Like Hecarim.
It makes those champions better, like Hecarim and Kayn.
Yeah.
And it's like the big beneficiaries of all this damage nerf is gonna be like, if I have to see a Vayne come back to my games, I'm gonna shoot myself. I like this. I know this is like, okay. Let me take that back since this could be a YouTube video. I'm gonna get a hammer and smack my hand with it. Just hammer my hand until I can no longer feel anything in my hand. Because that is how unenjoyable it is to play with those champions.
I mean, I think this is an unnecessary buff to Kayn. Like, I think this should have been specifically only Shadow Assassin. I think buffing his E period, like for both forms, is just a mistake. Because it buffs his early game. Like, Kayn is never maxing E second, right? Red or blue Kayn, you're usually maxing W first, like 2 points Q, W max, then Q second, because you want the damage. But, like, now that the Shadow Step is like, this is like Ahri syndrome, where the rank 1 Shadow Step is like old rank 3 Shadow Step. So you just, like, you get more early game effectiveness out of Kayn. And he's a champion that, if he has a good early game, you're going to probably win.
Yep.
The Rengar buffs, I'm kind of worried about because I think 20 seconds is actually a lot for how strong his first ultimate is. So Dark Harvest Rengar, haha. I mean, you don't have to go Duskblade. Like, you could probably rush Ghostblade or even just like Black Cleaver or really anything. It's like, okay, they're giving buffs to Rengar in compensation for Duskblade. Okay, so what happens when Rengar just goes for a Bruiser build? Or Rengar
that's what I was thinking with
goes just Ghostblade, or you know what I mean? Like,
and red form Kayn is the same, and he didn't necessarily need Duskblade either.
Right, so they could just adapt. They could if Duskblade ended up being bad, they might not just build it. They would build something else, right?
Yeah.
And Wukong, like, I don't know. Wukong's probably the one that got hit the hardest by Duskblade because he could actually proc it multiple times in a fight with his W. But, I mean, this just makes Jungle Wukong, like, actually playable. Like, 8% free attack speed is pretty noticeable. You start Machete. You might not start Machete. It depends on your clear. But if you start Machete, like, it's actually not bad. But,
So, the big thing that we're actually, I should also mention about this is that if you are a Duskblade user and you didn't get compensation buff, so if you don't see them on the screen right now, so we're talking about Zed, Shaco, like, my brain's blanking. Talon. Like, all those champions, Riot probably thought they were too good, so they didn't give them any compensation buffs. So all those champions, you can think of them getting nerfed by this change. And honestly, they could just go Ghostblade anyway, so it's not going to be the end of the world for
they
them,
usually, like, Talon rushed Ghostblade anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd still go Duskblade, but, like, you know, you're at the point at the game where you're snowballing, like, you don't even have Duskblade. Duskblade's, like, where you start overkilling people because you're fed already.
All right, let's speed it up.
All right, mid mages. Why the heck is Annie getting 50 extra range? This is actually going to make Annie mid lane like very oppressive again. Actually, I'm going to probably be playing mid Annie. And let me tell you what, if I'm playing mid Annie, then everyone's probably going to be playing mid Annie. I don't know why they're giving her 50 extra attack range, but you could probably play ADC Annie if you want to now. Like, this is just such a out of nowhere buff. Like, what the heck? Like, old school Annie was so annoying because of her attack range. I don't remember when they nerfed her attack range in the past, but she used to have at least 600, if not 625. And she would just sit there and auto you and lane.
625, yep.
Yep, so this is revert. Okay, we're back to old school Annie. Here we go again.
And then Kassadin gets more Rift Walks in the early game.
Kassadin is like sleeper. Like, if you get a good counter pick, like, if you get Kassadin into a good matchup, like, he's good right now. And so this is weird. Like, he's just a counter pick. Like, yeah, of course, if you blind pick Kassadin, they pick Talon, Zed, Quinn, whatever. Yeah, you're going to get pooped on. Kassadin's a counter pick. So when you have, like, a really niche counter pick like this get even better, then it's even more oppressive when you get him in a good matchup. Like, he's actually okay against LeBlanc and stuff like that. And if he survives the early game, then, you know, his mid... For some reason, they decided to buff his early game. So his late game is still always and forever will be Kassa win. But now, that's a really good buff. Like, that's a really good buff.
I think the way to think about this is kind of compensation for the electrocute nerfs on champions that were... I mean, I don't think Kassadin needed compensation, but Annie, you know, burst damage. I don't know.
Annie was going Predator most of the time. So Annie was going Predator. Right. Kassadin was going Comet or Fleet Footwork most of the time. Sometimes electrocute. Don't get me wrong. Electrocute was really OP. But, like, you still saw more Comets. You still saw more Fleet Footworks for Kassadins in bad matchups. Yeah, so this is kind of insane. Because Annie can just go Predator. And Kassadin can just go Dark Harvest or anything.
Look, the old school champions, Garen had his chance to shine, and now it's now it's Annie and Kassadin's time to shine. So let's
all right,
move on to the
Duelist buffs. It's Worlds patch, Fiora time. We want there to be excitement because tank versus tank is not that exciting. So we want the option for there to be a Fiora. Every Worlds, I'm serious, go back last 2 years. When it's Worlds patch time or one patch from Worlds patch or whatever, Fiora comes back. They always buff her because she's like the Band-Aid fix to like them hoping that it's not a tank versus tank matchup at Worlds. Which I hope it's not a tank versus tank matchup at Worlds. It's boring. If someone wants to take the risk of going Fiora at Worlds, like, power to them. This is a pretty nice buff to the early game. It's actually a very nice buff to the early game. And Fiora has always been a very, like, high skill cap pick, so even when she's not favored in the meta, good players can make her work. This just makes it more enticing, especially if people are playing Cho'Gath and stuff like that again. Oh, really? Oh, my God. All right, so this is where I get triggered. Aurelia is still pick banned right now in high elo. Like, before this patch, Aurelia is just still considered a mistake. Seeing this reverted nerf or whatever the heck this is very much makes me want to never see her on this patch at all. Because this, you know, you see a 30% buff and you're like, okay, all right, that's good. But what this actually means is that during the early game and even the mid game, she's going to be able to one-shot the range caster minions and low HP minions faster, more effectively, without... Because in other words, this helps good and bad Aurelius, because if you did not get the Q reset on a minion, you lost your kill opportunity, or you die. And so this just makes it better for good Aurelius to do their Aurelia stuff and just basically dash around and then one-shot you. And then bad Aurelias that don't really know her damage are probably still overkilling minions so that there's less like, oh, whoopsie, I didn't know my damage, I messed up. You know, not only lowers the skill ceiling of Aurelia, but it makes it so that you can actually play Aurelia even more efficiently and high elo. So, yeah.
And as a meta comment here, I figure we should throw in that, you know, Conqueror is still good. I think they nerfed its early game a while back and the attack damage it gave early. And so now that Fiora and Aurelia can make it through lane better, you know, Aurelia is going to be able to get some CS that she didn't get earlier. Now they're going to be just better top laners, and late game they can have Conqueror
or better mid laners.
Whatever rune. And
Fiora mid against Galio and Aurelia mid against everything. But, you know,
Aurelia was played mid by Bjergsen.
Yep.
2 out of the 3 games he won in this last weekend against Echo Fox. So it was already a good champion, even in pro play. This is just a nice buff that she probably didn't need.
Nice compensation buff for
nothing. All right, and these are just a couple buffs.
It's Worlds patch. Bard's coming back.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a pretty nice buff to Bard, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to see more Bards in my games, but if they're going to be Bards, like, I'd rather them have lower cooldown ultimates because that's really his only tool to make plays right now. But, yeah, the Master Yi buffs are kind of like probably late compensation buffs for Rageblade nerfs and stuff, but, like...
who cares? Like, it's 10% damage buff on Meditate, and who cares?
I mean, it's noticeable, but
it's clearly a noticeable buff. But it's like,
yeah, it's not going to change.
How many times have you thought Master Yi would have lived there if he mitigated just a little bit more damage on his W? It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really happen that often. When it does, you're sure it's going to be annoying now. But
speaking of Meditate, why does Aurelia's W ability basically? No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's.
No, it is. It's the same damage reduction, I think. So
later it is.
So the interesting thing about Bard,
almost.
I like thinking about Bard because they just keep buffing him. Like, I don't think he's received nerfs in like a year, but he's still not at the point where he's played in pro, and maybe they should probably try to fix his kid. Who knows? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Fixed. All right, top lane nerfs. Oh boy. Guys, we've heard your complaints about Garen. We know that he's the #1 top laner on every tier list. He's got the highest win rate. He's got the highest pick rate. We're going to fix him. We're going to take 5 damage off his level 2 decisive strike. Okay? Yes. And then at rank 5, it'll be 20 damage. But by then, you've probably already died to him. And he's probably started to snowball. So my beef with Garen Tyler is his numbers are really high, especially his W. Like, the damage reduction from his W was insane. They just randomly, like, buffed that and gave him, like, more resistance on that ability. So his damage numbers are really, really good right now. And his W is really, really good right now. So seeing such a slight nerf when they actually probably could have toned down his W or his health regen, you know, just something in a more meaningful way than just like 5 damage off of his early game, kind of, sort of, like level 4. His level 4 all in, because you usually have QWE, like, so by the time you have rank 2 decisive strike, if you were maxing it first, which I know that was a play style of maxing Q first, then it's 5 damage. Like, that's not gonna change the matchups. Like,
don't worry about it.
They could have nerfed his base attack damage by 5, and it would have substantially more impact than this.
Yeah, I'm reading chat. He's fixed, man. Don't worry about it.
He's unkillable in lane. He outtrades you. He takes absolutely no skill to play. You could first time Garen and basically be the same as if you played him probably more than 10 times. It's almost the same. But anyways, yeah, so that's Garen is still the same. The York nerfs are kind of random, but I do know that York has had a decent win rate for a while. He's just like a better Nasus in terms of split pushing. Like, he's got a good early game. He was a lane bully, but not very easy to play compared to Garen. Like, you can still mess up a lot on York.
I took some off of this message because he actually does get compensation. Like, later in the game, he gets 1 more attack damage growth from basically 8 to 18.
He does? I didn't see that.
Well, just on the Mistwalkers, not York himself. So it's never a buff. But like the early game Mistwalker at level 6 or at level 7, he'll have only gained 7 attack damage or 6 attack damage. That's it. So whatever the level 1 Mistwalker's attack damage is, add 6 to that, and that's what's the new damage.
Mistwalkers are his ghouls, right?
Yes. So instead of gaining 20 plus attack damage, they're now only gonna gain 6 before level 7.
So okay,
that's pretty massive.
Let me just say that this doesn't fix the problems that people have with York are not his ghouls.
Yeah, I mean,
his ghouls are just like icing on the cake of him just utterly dumpstering you in lane. Like, his Q auto reset, the sustain on his Q, he does a lot of damage to turrets. I would say the main thing that makes York strong is if you roam and he stays in lane, he pushes faster than almost anyone else with just one item, besides Aurelia or besides Camille. And even then, I think York might actually push faster than Camille on Trinity Force. So I don't know. Like he just takes towers really quickly. So he's annoying because you can't really kill him, and then he just stays in lane. And then if you leave, he takes a tower or two, and then he's on your, your inhibitor.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We know that Yorick was made to be early, like split pushing, early mid game, and that's fine. The problem is his late game is just as good as his early mid game. Like, yeah, he's not team fighting you, but right now on live, he's just this ridiculous split pusher that you step away from for 1 second, and he's going to get your tower. And that's why he's being played in pro. I mean, I think it was Dokla that was playing him a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if Dokla is known as a Yorick player. I think he just picked him up because he was super strong. So
I mean, I think the Mistwalkers have like low base attack damage, so I think this will like have like maybe noticeable effects. But like I said, like I don't think you're losing lane because the ghouls are getting on you, because they die almost immediately.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing about this is if you die in a gank, you're not going to lose as much health in your tower. You're still going to lose a lot of the health on the tower, but like...
All right, let's go to the next one so they don't complain about the time of the video.
This is the last one. Varus Nerf. He's just...
Varus is really good right now. So seeing this nerf makes me kind of happy because he needs to be squishier in the early game because he's so dominant. Like if he backs and buys a Serrated Dirk, your ADC is just going to get dumpstered. So... This is like how they nerfed Caitlyn in the past, like making her squishier. I like it because it just means he can't just like run at you at level 1 and 2 and just still beat you, because he's got less health. So you might actually kill him and then snowball.
I like it because the champions that benefit the most from like electrocute nerfs and like damage coming out of the game are poke. Like I think I mentioned it earlier, but poke champions get way better when they can't be killed. Like flat out by an electrocute assassin.
Yeah. When you can't burst them, poke is better.
This nerf right here is basically saying we kind of like where Varus is before the electrocute nerfs and before the Duskblade nerfs, and we want him to die just as easily to an assassin that's coming in. So we're just gonna lower his health by 50, and that's what this nerf is. And I think it's a good decision.
Yeah,
and
I still think Varus is good, but yeah, he's like a high skill cap ADC at least. Oh, watch my stream for more AP Shyvana, AP NuNu, and support mid lane, jungle, top, ADC, every position. But no, I've been playing a lot of AP Shyvana, if you hadn't noticed from my other YouTube videos and my stream. It's really fun. Give it a try. There's going to be more of it. AP NuNu on this patch as well. So thanks for watching, everybody.